Well, to me, the most basic and most central design flow in complex organizations is they tend to be organized at the top as a set of one-on-one relationship between the CEO and senior executives who each run a part of the organization in a fairly separate and autonomous way, and who have, whether they've been recruited from the outside or whether they have grown internally within the organization, who have been groomed to defend their own autonomy and their own power. So rather than have an integrated team at the top, we have basically a bunch of rivals who do not play together. And to me, that's the number one kind of hindrance to change and renewal. Now, what can be done to compensate for that? It seems to me it's really trying to create a lot more interdependence among members of the top team. And that can be done in various ways. There is the most basic stuff, which is economic interdependence and mutual interest. Some companies, I have SAP and Nokia in mind here, have redistributed roles among the people reporting directly to the CEO in such a way that rather than run separate pieces of the business, they are all co-responsible for a more integrated business system within which they have specific roles and responsibilities. So they are still accountable and measurable on one particular personal contribution, but they are also unable to succeed without the rest of the team succeeding as well. So it becomes a very highly integrated and interdependent success or failure. Sometimes in the European context, we call it cabinet responsibility, but it's a sense of collective ownership of the success or the failure of the company, and that's reflected in the way you do strategy, the way you look at rewards, the way you look at measurement, and so on and so forth. Beyond this, beyond the mechanics of it, I think there is also an emotional dimension, which to me goes through creating more clarity and more transparency of motives. So people are not just seen as recipients of external rewards, but also in a sense understand what makes each other tick. And again, there, for instance, the CEO of SAP has taken the habit of having a quarterly retreat in some kind of offsite with all the top team, often including their families and kids and so on, and essentially creating a lot of socialization, but also giving an opportunity for people to reveal to each other in an informal way what really motivates them, what really turns them on or turns them off. So there's a lot of a more emotional commitment and a sense of really becoming and playing as a team, not just because the reward systems and the interdependency of job definition is such, but also because people become almost socially involved and socially committed to that kind of process. That assumes that there is an integrative strategy on the part of the organization. So also that there is some sense of corporate value-added logic. Otherwise, there is no reason for people to play as a team. And I think what you see there is obviously it's easier in companies that are more integrated, like Nokia or SAP. Nokia has gone through a major transformation recently to do all of this and to basically redistribute roles very differently. And rather than have separate businesses, to refocus on differentiated applications, but integrated platforms and integrated businesses. So it has become a more complex multidimensional organization. That's what makes this integrated value creation logic implementable. If you don't have this, and in a sense Hewlett Packard has been an example of this, or if you don't have a very strong integration logic, then it's a lot more difficult to create a team at the top. But just to summarize, for me, the number one thing is this notion of moving from individual one-on-one responsibilities and relationships to a much more collective process and much more a role where the CEO is more of a leader among peers, primus inter pares, if you wish, rather than just the guy or the lady who just kind of runs a set of vertical relationships with barons of subunits. To me, that's the core of a lot of the issues we are facing.